Welcome back to On the Wild, episode number 62. I'm Anuj Basker. With me, as always, Riley Keenan. The NBA playoffs start today at the time this is going to come out. And we're joined by a very special guest, fellow sport media student and a good friend of ours, Nickeem Khan. How you doing, Nickeem?
I'm doing great. And then the fact I'm on the podcast right now, oh my gosh, y'all can see my face. This is like I'm fanboying right now, but I'm so excited.
Well, it was great to have you on. You know a lot about ball. We talk about it all the time at school.
Yeah, I think so.
So we thought, who better to have on for our playoff preview? And I guess we just get right into it. The plan is tonight, so the Pelicans and Clippers are playing, as well as the
Cavs and Hawks.
Yeah,
Cavs and Hawks. So we'll take that into account when we're predicting. We'll just say, like, if this team were to make it, you know, we think this would happen in the 1-8 and so on and so forth. So I guess we'll start. You guys want to start with the East or the West?
Good to go with the West is.
Yeah, I'll say let's go West because the East seems a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I think when I'm looking at the West right now, we just heard news that Paul George won't be playing.
Yeah.
So I think already I'm leaning towards the Pelicans. They've been coming in playing pretty well, and they got some solid depth. And the Clippers right now they don't seem like they're on the same page. So I'll go with the Pelicans. I don't have too much of a reasoning for it.
I think the Paul George injury won't, or no, he's not even injured. It's health and safety protocols. But I mean, they've played majority of the season without him, and they haven't done too bad without him. I mean, they're around 500, so I think they match up well with the Pelicans. But I still think the Pelicans have the two best players in this game, with CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram. So I think with how they played last game, especially CJ was really good last game, especially in the first half. He scored 27. Mm-hmm. So he's coming in hot. So I'll probably agree with you with the Pelicans.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me because it's just like, yeah, Paul George is a crucial piece and he went crazy against Minnesota. But then, as Anu said, they played amazing without him all season. But it's like, how fast can you go from your game plan being revolved around Paul George to now you're without him? And especially on such short notice, where it's just found out the day of the game that he's not going to play. The only thing that kind of concerns me is that it's in LA, and I don't know if the Pelicans have that experience to overcome a hostile environment where, this is a team with veterans. Reggie Jackson's been there. I personally think if Terrence Mann just has a good game, the Clippers are going to win. But that's just a big what if.
Yeah, that's the thing about the Clippers is that it feels like every game somebody just has a breakout game. Like every game, whether it's Mann, Jackson, Marcus Morris, even from time to time, Luke Kennard, like they have so many players who could just pop off from game to game. So it's definitely a close game.
That's the big thing for me. I'm not even sure. Luke Kennard did not play the first play-in game. I'm not sure if he's playing today, but that could also be a big factor. I don't have that fact checked right now, but even though regardless of that, I would have to go with the Pelicans. I just think the way they play, especially as of late, has been great. And everyone's talking about CJ and BI, but Herb Jones has been amazing for them. He had a really good game last time, and I think they can snag that 8th spot.
Yeah, he's a great defender, Herb Jones.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that would mean that we both have, or all three of us have, Pelicans Suns in the first round, and I'll start it off. It's a sweep for me.
Sweet.
Yes.
I think the Suns have. Yeah. No, let's move on. And then we have the 2-7. This is probably the series that I'm most excited for. Grizzlies Timberwolves. I don't think the Timberwolves will win this series, but I just think it's so exciting to have these two young teams matching up in the first round. They're like the Grizzlies have a little bit of experience last year, being the 8th seed against Utah, and they put up a pretty good fight in that series, although they did lose. But I think Anthony Edwards, D'Lo, hopefully Cat can rebound. He played really bad against the Clippers. He fouled out. He only had 11 points. But I think the Grizzlies will win this in 5 games, but I think it'll be a closer 5 games. I think Anthony Edwards, he's an emerging superstar. I think next year he can take that same sort of jump that Ja took this year. He reminds me a lot of D Wade in the way that he plays. I think he's a little bit more skilled than D Wade was at this point in his career. He has more of a jump shot than D Wade did. But I got Grizzlies in 5 games.
Yeah, I think this one's tough for me. I'm really excited for this series as well. I'm thinking Grizzlies in 6 because I think, you know, Adams is a really good inside presence and interior force, but I think Cat is going to have a couple games in this series where he's just going to put up some big numbers because he's had a bit of an attitude adjustment this season, and I really like to see it because, you know, he's got a bit more swagger. I think that's a lot from Beverly. I do think that play-in celebration was a little bit ridiculous. You know, they're acting like they just won the Western Conference Finals, but I like the.
To be fair, they've played the playoffs one time since KG left.
That's true.
Or
That's
since
true.
2004. So
it's a hell of a feeling, and to do it against, you know, your former team that didn't want to pay you in the offseason, it means that much more. But at the end of the day, I think Grizzlies take it. I mean, without John Morant, there were like 21-2, which is ridiculous.
Insane.
Without your superstar player, who is most likely going to win the most improved player. But yeah, I think it goes 6 games because I think the Timberwolves can push it. But at the end of the day, I think Grizzlies are one of the top threats in the West, and they're going to put up a big fight.
Yeah, that's the one thing that it's just concerning for me because the Grizzlies don't really have any experience. So it's like, will they fold under pressure? But they showed all season that they're literally one of the best teams in the NBA. And just like looking at some statistics I think the main matchup is between John Morant and D'Angelo Russell. And in the 4 games that they played, Jaw's averaging 20 points, 34% from the field, and 15% from 3. Meanwhile, while D'Lo is averaging 31 points on 56% shooting from the field on 47% from 3. So D'Lo has amazing games against this Grizzlies team. And if he continues just the way he had in the play-in, I think that's going to be huge because obviously we're going to be looking at Cat because Cat's their all-star. We know Anthony Edwards is going to score. The one thing about the Timberwolves, Charles Barkley said it best. He said that they're the most stupidest team that he's ever seen play because they can go stretches without scoring for like 7-8 minutes and they don't run any plays. Like it's just like they just look like they've never played basketball before. But then when they're clicking, as we saw against the Clippers, they're clicking.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm going to throw a curveball and I'll say Timberwolves in 7. I'll say Timberwolves in 7. Grizzly fans might get mad at me. They're gonna be like, this guy does not know anything about basketball.
What Grizzly fans do you know?
Yeah.
Hey, that's a valid point right there. What Grizzly fan? You're John Morant fan. That's literally it. I bet you can't even name who played in 2015. But I just think that this series just has a chippiness to them, to it, and I'm going to go with the T-Wolves just because I think that they have the edge with Pat Bev for some reason. I just think he's going to get someone ejected at least 2 times in the game. And I like the underdog, so I'm going to go with the T-Wolves.
He may get himself ejected.
That is definitely true, too. Definitely.
I like Patrick Beverly. I think I've learned to respect him over the last couple of years. I used to think, like, remember that Westbrook quote, like, he just runs around, he fools y'all. That's definitely not true. He brings a certain type of energy and swag to a team. He proved a lot of doubters wrong when he got to Minnesota. He said that they were going to make the playoffs. Everybody was laughing at him, and look at him now. So I wouldn't be surprised if they won this series, just because the Grizzlies don't have like the experience thing that a lot of people say whenever they talk about playoff series. They don't really have that over Minnesota, even though they did make the playoffs last year. So we'll see. So let's move on to the 3-6, Golden State and Denver. Campazzo is out game 1. I don't know how big of a loss that will be for the Nuggets, but Steph is playing. So that should be huge for Golden State. I have Golden State in 7 games. I think the way Jokic is playing, he's a one-man gang at this point, and it's working. So I think Steph is going to come back a little bit rusty. He's missed, how many games has he missed? 20-ish?
Upwards of
games.
20.
Yeah.
So I think, and Clay has been kind of up and down ever since he came back. And I think Draymond will be a okay defender for Jokic. We saw, like, I'll compare it to what he did with AD in the play-in last year. Kind of just controlled him the whole game. I don't think he'll be able to do that with Jokic, but at least try to minimize his impact as a scorer, I'd say. And I think that Golden State has just better role players than Denver does. Denver is kind of depleted other than Jokic. They don't have Michael Porter Jr. They don't have Jamal Murray. They haven't had him all season. I think Jordan Poole will play a huge factor in this series, along with Kuminga and Wiggins and all them. So I think because of that, I got Warriors in 7 because I think Jokic is going to have a great series.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I also have Warriors in 7 because I think, like, in my opinion, I think Jokic is the MVP this season. I think he's done enough to earn himself that right. I think there's a huge conversation between Embiid and Giannis, but he, like you said, he's a one-man show, and I the absence of Porter and Jamal hurts a bit, but he's been without them all year. So the system works. It's been effective. They're one of the better 6 seeds that we've ever seen in this league. But at the end of the day, like, Warriors have so much depth, like you said, and I think Jordan Poole is that X factor, and he might be the biggest X factor in the entire playoffs. I think we're like, the people that don't watch regular season basketball and they focus a lot on the playoffs, they're really going to see who Jordan Poole is now, because he can put up 20 points a game. He can put up 25. He can be the best player in the series for the Warriors, because as you said, Steph Curry is probably going to come in a bit rusty. He hasn't had the best second half of the season, even before he got hurt. The last 2 years, it seems like he was the MVP favorite, and then he kind of dwindled out a bit. So to come back, he needs to come in firing. I think the first couple games are going to be a bit of a struggle. I think the Nuggets can take it early, but when it's all said and done, I think the Warriors come to a close, because I think Draymond will do a good enough job on Jokic, and I think it's going to be tough that the Nuggets don't really have that clear second guy to help Jokic up with that the load he's got.
Yeah, definitely. That's the one thing. Like, Jokic can win you 2 games. And then I'm banking on the fact that maybe one guy steps up in another game so they can grab that third. But I don't think they can beat the Warriors in a 7-game series. Beating them 4 times, even just having Steph on the court, whether he's 50% or 80%, just being there, he's probably arguably the greatest decoy in the history of basketball if he's just on the court, because you got to be on him. You can't even give him any type of breathing room. And then just to go on your point about Jordan Poole, I have Jordan Poole on my fantasy team, so I got to see how much he was carrying me. I mean, 38 points, 27 points. Like, the last stretch of the season, this guy was unguardable. So bringing that into the playoffs, I don't see any of those guards on Denver's side being able to contain Poole. Monty Morris, who else? Austin Rivers. Like, these guys can't stay in front of Jordan Poole. He, not just is he quick, he's one of the shiftiest guys in the league. And for the Warriors, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, not just for winning this, but I think they can do it in 6. I'll give them the 6.
Okay.
Yeah, very fair.
And then moving on to Dallas and Utah. If Luka was healthy, I think the Mavericks win this in 6 games. He's probably not going to play game 1 based on everything I've read. And I assume that he won't be necessarily healthy for the rest of the series. So for that reason, I have the Jazz in this series.
Really?
Yeah, I think the Jazz are going to win this in 6 or 7 games. I don't think that I think it'll be a closer series, but I think because Luka won't be fully healthy, I think the Jazz will win it. But I think I'm cheering for Dallas, though. I want Dallas to go far.
This is a tough one for me, because as you said, it looks like he's going to miss game 1. Potentially, he could miss game 2 as well. And that already, the Mavericks have home advantage. I think even without Luka for 2 games, I think Dallas can still split that series at home, because we've seen it. Utah has just not been clicking as of late, and a lot of the time we thought the problem was Gobert. Potentially the problem could be Donovan Mitchell as of late. I've seen a stat that he passes to him less than 4 times a game. And this stretch, which is insane. You look at the replays, there's so many times he's just wide open in the paint.
Yeah.
And he just keeps going on the perimeter, looks for someone else to pass to. So to not have that, connection and chemistry between 2 of your biggest stars, that's a huge problem for me. So even without Luka, I think they're going to, come into the series like, oh, they don't got Luka. Let's roll over on him. And then, we're going to see that the clear chemistry problem that they have. I think ultimately the Mavericks take it in 7, because I think obviously it's going to be tough without Luka. But once he's back, even if he's not healthy, we know he's a different breed in the playoffs. I think statistically he has the most points per game in the playoffs, which is absurd. I mean, he's only played 14 games, but to take the Clippers to 7 twice is pretty damn impressive. So I think the Mavericks squeak it out.
Yeah, I'm also on the same page as Riley. I like the Mavericks in the series. And this Utah Jazz team, I don't know if you guys will agree with me, but they give me the same impression that the Toronto Raptors gave me before they made the Kawhi Leonard trade. Like, they're a really good regular season team, but they just weren't able to get it done in the playoffs. And I feel like if they lose this series, there's going to be a big change to that team, whether that's Donovan Mitchell heading out or pardon?
They're going to blow it up, I think.
Yeah. They're going to have to blow it up at this point. Who is that going to be? I don't know, because Gobert is getting like $45 million within like this year, next year. He's getting paid bank. Donovan Mitchell might end up having to be the one that's gone, but for the sake of this series, I like the guard play in Dallas, even without Luka. I think bringing Dinwiddie and the way he's been playing lately, he can. I'm not saying he's gonna be able to do what Luka can do because obviously no one can do that. But to fill in the shoes, I think he can do a pretty good job at that. And even like one thing about the Jazz that we've always talked about over the years, they've been a great defensive team. That's not the case this year. They're not that same defensive team. Gobert plays great defense, but nobody else can keep their man in front of them. So I think that being said, with the Mavericks, I think they can just get by. I'm gonna give them 6. I'm gonna give them 6.
Cool. I'm on an island here. I don't like. You guys actually kind of flipped my opinion with that. I think I'm gonna go 7 instead of 6. But yeah, I want Dallas to win. I've never been a fan of Utah. Riley knows I don't really like Gobert. So
yeah. And to your point, Nickeem, we've actually talked a bit about it before, like the 2018 Raptors, a lot like the Jazz. And the news just said, I think the 2016 Hawks, when they, they had Horford, Smith, like just a lot of guys that not a clear-cut guy that can take over at the end of the game, but
exactly, yeah.
You need
just a bunch of good guys aren't going to beat, superstars.
Especially when there's a clear chemistry issue. Like, it's not even just like, it's like, okay, maybe they don't, like they clearly don't mess with each other. So it's like,
But moving on to the East, the Hawks and Cavs play tonight. So the winner of that will play Miami in the first round. I have Cleveland in this game. I think if they didn't absolutely blow the first quarter against Brooklyn, they would have won that game. They won every quarter after that. Now, just like the way Garland has been playing, I think this will be a closer game than the Western Conference game, even though we said that was going to be close as well. I have the Cavs in that, and I think that Miami will beat them in 5 or 6 games. I think Miami, they've kind of been up and down the last month. Like they had this kind of longish losing streak. I think it was like 4 or 5 games, and they went on to win like 6 straight. So they've kind of been inconsistent over the last month. But I think with what they have, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero coming off the bench, Kyle Lowry, obviously. So I think the Heat will take care of business in 5 or 6, probably 5.
Going back to the playing game for me, Hawks, Cavs, that's one of the toughest ones of all, because I think if Jared Allen was there, I would easily say the Cavaliers, because I think his presence is massive and it takes a lot of pressure off of Mobley. And we've seen when Allen's in the lineup, Mobley's an absolute beast. Again, I like the way Garland's been playing. He's been incredible. I think either him or DeJounte should win most improved player. But I think I'm going to have to go with the Hawks here. I think the experience helps a lot with last year going all the way to the conference finals and nearly taking out the Bucks. And I think Trae Young he's that dude. I think he struggled a bit in the last playing game, but he's going to step it up to another level. And I think it's going to be a point guard duel between him and Garland. I think they might duel for like 30 and 10 each. But it's tough without Collins in the lineup. But I think just the Hawks have enough depth and enough good shooting that it's going to be really tough for Cleveland to stop that perimeter. So I'm gonna go with the Hawks, and then I guess afterwards that would mean the Heat Hawks. I think Heat take it in about 5 or 6, because like Anuj said, they just have so many pieces that are tough to stop, and the Hawks are gonna have to force it on the perimeter, but we know the Heat are some of the best perimeter defense in the league, so I think Heat take it in about 6.
Yeah, going into the play-in, I guess I'll be the tiebreaker in this situation. I feel like, obviously Jared Allen's absence, that hurts the Cavs. Then you look at Atlanta, they don't have John Collins, so that's obviously hurting them too. I think this is just a matter of which team has home court, has the advantage to win this. And with that being said, I'm probably going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I just feel like having that energy to boost them up. Atlanta's not the same defensive team that they were last year. Obviously, I trust Trae Young. He's probably going to have like a 40-piece. Kevin Huerter has been good for them. Bogdanovich is good for them. But I don't know. That Cleveland defense is pretty good. And especially like with Mobley probably on Clint Capella, I don't know if Clint Capella is going to get those free lobs that he was getting against Charlotte, because this team just plays with much more heart and much more energy than the Hornets did, because that was just a pathetic performance from the Hornets in that game. But going into the Miami and Cleveland series, I got it. Miami in 5. I'll give Cleveland 1 game, but Miami's just so deep. And then we saw Victor Oladipo in the last game of the season drop 40, and he's your 6th or 7th man on your team. Like, that's insane. So just the depth of Miami is just too much, I think, for Cleveland to handle, especially since they won't be fully healthy.
Yeah. Moving on to Celtics Nets, rematch of last year's first round. Obviously some pieces missing. James Harden is not there anymore, and Ben Simmons may come back in. They're saying games 4 to 6 if it were to go that far. I really want to say Boston here, but like the way Durant and Kyrie looked, especially Kyrie in the plan, it's kind of tough for me to go against those two. Yeah, I'm gonna go Brooklyn. I'm gonna go Brooklyn in 7.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you there. I think Brooklyn in 7. I think if Robert Williams was there, it's a different story.
Yeah.
Because I think he could have won Defensive Player of the Year this year. But yeah, and the thing I look at it too, Boston, gets worse in terms of defense because Williams isn't there. Brooklyn gets a little bit better with Simmons there if he does come in games 4 and 5. But I think, how's he going to mesh with the rest of the lineup? That's, tough to tell. I guess we'll see. But yeah, I think it just comes down to KD and Kyrie being the 2 best players in this series. I think, I don't know. Tatum, you can give it to Tatum as well. I think Tatum's going to have like a 50, 60 point game to win a couple of these games. I think we saw it last year. He was able to do it. But at the end of the day, I think Kyrie and KD have just been playing so well. And KD as a facilitator as of late has been insane. I think he had like 16 assists the other night, racked up, I think 11 in that playoff game. I could be wrong. But yeah, they're both just shooting the lights out, and it's going to be tough to stop them. And I really like what Claxton's been doing as of late. I think he'll be a good interior force. But yeah, it's going to be a very close series, but I'd take Nets in 7.
It's a really tough series, and Boston fans they're probably one of the most toxic fan bases. I'm sorry. I'm a Boston hater, like certified Boston. I hate the Celtics, not even just like because I'm a Raptors fan, but just I hate the commentators. I just hate the Celtics in general, the way they play. For some reason, they all just want to play good against the Raptors. Anyways, that's a whole nother topic for another day. But it's just tough for the 2-7. Like Boston's been great as soon as 2022 started, they've been amazing. And I don't want to discredit them for anything of that. But without Rob Williams for what seems like at least the first 4 games, and then maybe he might come back same time span as Ben Simmons, if that's the case. How are you going to stop Kyrie and KD? Like, I know Marcus Smart is leading the Defensive Player of the Year race, but he cannot stop. The planet that Kyrie's on right now and the shots that he's making is actually absurd. I don't understand how someone who is fasting can make let alone a regular person, but you're fasting and you're making double clutch shots over 7-footers. Like it's like video game stuff. And then KD's KD, you mentioned how his playmaking has been improving. And that's what I like, because now you have him. He can just pass off, and you have Bruce Brown who's cut into the basket with the floaters. I think Patty Mills is going to be huge, because if he makes his threes, that's going to help them drastically. He's struggled as of late, but he had a pretty good game against the Cavs. But with that being said, Jason Tatum's great. Jaylen Brown's great. I just don't trust the supporting cast of Boston compared to I do of Brooklyn. So I'm going to go Brooklyn in 7, though. It's going to be a tough one. I think close games all throughout.
I think we're also going to see a bit of the dynamic of Tatum and Brown struggling together a little bit in this playoffs, because we've seen, when they were struggling the first half of the year, it was very like, give me the ball, I'm going to make this happen. And less of let's systematically figure out how to score a basket here. They were just every man for himself, it feels like. Now they're kind of in the realm of, feeding off of each other, but I think it's still going to get to that point. When you get down 10 to the Nets, you're going to start forcing shots. And I don't think there's aside from the Rockets a couple of years ago throwing up those bricks from 3, I don't think there's been a team that's forced shots as much as Boston has in tight games where they're down by a couple baskets. So I think that's going to hurt them a little bit. But, Tatum and Brown are 2 of the best players in the league, 2 of the best under 24 in the league. So they're going to make it close.
Yeah, definitely. And I have a quick question just before we move on to the next one. If the Celtics lose this series, do you think there's a high chance that this duo gets broken up? Because this would be like another playoff failure, I guess you could say, a 2 seed losing first round again. Do you think there's a chance?
I wouldn't say so. I think that Brown is 25, Tatum's 24. Mm-hmm. I think they've made it to 2 Eastern Conference Finals. So I think that with how young they still are, and how they're not even going to be in their prime for another couple of years, and how they've kind of rebounded from a slow start to the season, I think they give them another year. I think next year is the year. If they don't succeed next year, then I think you have to make some sort of change. But I think this year they're safe.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think they'll keep them for at least another year, but I think the big piece for me is bringing in a point guard, because Smart has done really well in that spot, but I think he's just made to be a shooting guard, and Tatum can play the 4 just as easily as, you know, a guy like KD. So I think bringing in a true facilitator for that team is what'll help him out the most. But yeah, I mean, if they get swept, then I think it might be a different story where you think, okay, can these two coexist? But if they push it, then I think you got to give them another chance.
I know they're in rumors for like every superstar when they're available, but I think if Bradley Beal becomes available, I think they'll try to make a move with him because of how close he is with Jason Tatum.
That is a good point.
So,
I can see that.
We'll see. Next series, Milwaukee and Chicago. I think if Lonzo Ball was healthy, I think this would be a lot better of a series. And how Chicago was at the beginning of the season, in the midseason, with how DeMar DeRozan was playing and LaVine playing off of him. I think this would have been a great series. But I think with how Chicago has been playing lately, I think even that DeMar DeRozan quote, like it's like high school. Remember that quote where he said it's like high school, grade 9 and 10, it's great. And then you get into the higher grades, the better teams, it gets hard. So I think Milwaukee takes this one in 6 games. I'll say 5 games. 5 games.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Bucks take it in 5. I think they have the potential to sweep, but I think DeRozan just isn't going to let that happen. I think he'll have a couple massive nights. But yeah, I think the Bucks roll over on them because, you know, they 4-0 against the Bulls this year in the regular season, and just coming off a championship, they're going to be hungry to come, you know, to win back to back. And we know the way Giannis has been playing, and Middleton has just been absolutely shut down this year. Last year in the playoffs he was. I think he's going to replicate his performance once again. He struggled a little bit in the regular season this year, but I think Drew Holiday is also that piece that it's going to be so hard for Bulls guards to score, because he's just going to make it so difficult for him. Yeah, I think the Bucks take it pretty convincingly.
Yeah, like let's imagine if you guys had a segment called Fraud Watch. Like let's say the lights are thing, the music's playing right now. Fraud Watch. I am like on the train of the Chicago Bulls being frauds. Like I don't like this team, their chances at all, because they literally, for some reason, they just can't win against good teams.
Yeah.
And like I don't have the exact record in front of me, but they beat literally everyone they're supposed to. But I think if it's like above 600 teams, they've only won like 3 games the entire season.
Yeah.
And in this situation, Milwaukee's one of those teams where they're hungry, even though they just won a championship. So I feel like they won't let off the gas. And as much as I love DeRozan, but I've seen him struggle in the playoffs. So I can't necessarily say I trust him to, you know, win me a game or so. I think Zach LaVine's going to be huge as the first time in the playoffs. So we're going to see what he's made of. But that Bucks defense, when they're all on the same page, and it seems like they always are, they're going to be tough to stop. I'm actually going to go and say the Bucks sweep the Bulls. I'm going to say that.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
So I think the Bucks are one of those teams that are just going to flip a switch in the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like what we said about like Golden State a couple of years ago, and even Cleveland when they had Kyrie and LeBron. They just flip a switch in the playoffs, and all of a sudden they're an otherworldly team. So we'll see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if they swept at all. But the last series of the first round, we have Philadelphia and Toronto. I'm gonna let you guys go first on this one because I know you guys are both huge Raptors fans.
I am fired up, and I'm ready for the Raptors to take it in 7. I truly, truly believe that they can take it in 7 because they've made it extremely hard for Philadelphia this year. We saw it in the last 2 times they played. Philly just, you know, they couldn't score late in the game, and the Raptors were really bringing it. And defensively, yeah, you don't have, you know, who's better than Nick Nurse at engineering a defense and also, you know, adapting to the way the other team plays. There are so many plays that he has in his mind right now that they haven't even tried yet. And he's just waiting for it to happen. He's waiting for Embiid to get the ball in the post so he can go, all right, let's run this play. He's got a lot of plays deep in his pocket. So I think the Raptors are going to make it extremely tough. And, you know, when you look at series like this, normally if you got the 2 best players in the series, I'm going to take you. And that's Embiid and Harden. But the way they've meshed as of late, I haven't liked. The way Harden's been playing as of late has just been really selfish, and just also with Doc Rivers too. I've never been hugely high on Doc Rivers since the Celtics won the chip. I didn't really like him that much with the Clippers. I think it's super tough. I think it goes to 7 because I think just it is tough that the Raptors don't really have that X factor per se that can, you know, take over the game at the end. But they got 5 guys that can each have a 30-point game on any given night. So yeah, I think it comes down to the wire. And obviously Thibault not being able to play in Toronto, that hurts a lot, especially on defense. He's one of my favorite players to watch on the defensive end. So that's extremely tough on them too. So I'm going to go with the Raptors.
Yeah, this series is, oh my gosh, as a Raptor fan, this was like Christmas, opening a gift, that you've been waiting for. Just seeing the matchup, I was like, please not Milwaukee, please. And
Yeah.
we got Philly, and this is the reason why I'm also going Toronto, but the reason why I'm going Toronto, the Raptors literally have no pressure whatsoever. Like there are no expectations. Yet it feels like they're not even the underdog in this series. The way that everyone's talking about this, all the pressure is on the Philadelphia 76ers, James Harden, Joel Embiid. Raptors can just go and play freely. And to go on the Nick Nurse point, because Nick Nurse is a mastermind. He's arguably the best coach in all of the NBA, top 3 for sure. I seen Chris Boucher's like pre-playoff interview or whatever press conference, and even the Raptor players don't know exactly what Nick Nurse has in his back pocket. They're like, we don't know what Nick Nurse is gonna do. He might just make us run like quadruple teams or something, or do some next like high school press to start off the game. Like Nick Nurse can do whatever he wants, and we know that it's going to work. And Joel Embiid even said that he hates playing Toronto because they always play him the toughest. And for me, I just think this team matches well against Philly. The depth that Toronto has is going to be key because Philly arguably has no depth at all. But like once you get to like what Georges Niang off the bench, and then now with Matisse Thybulle's not in Toronto, that's definitely going to hurt them. I'm going to go Raptors in 6 because I feel if Toronto gets one game in Philly, I think they could win all their games in Toronto with that culture, with that environment, not being in the playoffs last year. I think all the fans are hungry. It's just going to be a nice playoff atmosphere. It might feel like the finals. I think that's how good this series is going to be. I'm going to go Raptors in 6.
I wouldn't be surprised if this goes either way. I think it goes 7, and because it goes 7, I'm going to say Philadelphia in 7. And it's going to be in Philadelphia. I think I always say I pick superstars over like good teams. So that's kind of like the philosophy I'm taking with this. But I would not be surprised at all if Toronto wins this series. I think this is the most evenly matched series out of any series in the playoffs. I think coaching is obviously an advantage for Toronto. Like you said, Riley, I've never been a huge Doc Rivers fan. And I think that if Philadelphia loses a series, I think Doc Rivers gets fired. Yeah. And I think – I mean, all the pressure's on James Harden. I forget who said it, but you guys said Joel Embiid. I think all the pressure's on James Harden. I know he's been kind of like dodging it, saying there's no pressure on me. All the pressure's on him because the last few years that he's been in the playoffs, he hasn't performed up to his standard, and he needs to perform because you just forced yourself out of 2 teams in 2 years. When it was the Rockets and now the Nets, you have to win this series. So I think Embiid has a big game 7. I think Philadelphia wins it, but wouldn't be surprised if Toronto wins it. This is up in the air for me.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think Harden, it's the most pressure is on Harden because you look at his track record. He hasn't really made much of an impact in the playoffs, aside from, going to the Western Conference Finals. And obviously Chris Paul goes down, so that's tough. But I do think there still is a lot of pressure on Embiid, just for the simple fact that in the 2 years since losing to the Raptors in 7 in the second round, they've won 1 playoff series, and that was against Washington. They get swept by Boston in the bubble. Obviously, they're without Simmons, but I mean, I need to see more out of Embiid here. I think he's been a dominant player in the league this year. He wins the scoring race and has every right to win MVP, but he really needs to come alive in the playoffs here. But at the end of the day, yeah, it comes down to Harden because he's the guy that's going to be facilitating, and he's going to be the one creating the shot. So if he's not knocking it down, then all the blame goes to him personally.
Yeah, I think Embiid's. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I agree. Like, it's Harden, the way you leave a super team that with arguably if they stay together, that could be the best trio. What am I saying? Trio that was ever formed. Arguably, and you force your way out of that to go to play with Embiid, and if he doesn't know, he should know his role as the number 2, but he's being way too passive. Yeah. And he needs to be aggressive. And just from how he looked the 2 times that he's played the Raptors as a member of the Sixers, didn't look that good at all. So it's going to be a lot of eyes. And, the media loves talking about Harden. So he's going to have I think he has a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think all the pressure's on Harden because I trust Embiid to perform and be dominant. So I think all the pressure's on Harden. But I will say about Philadelphia, they're very dependent on free throws, and they don't call playoff games they do regular season games.
Very true. However, they are playing Toronto, so I would not be surprised if they gave them a couple calls.
If
But
Tony Brothers is officiating.
oh no.
It's tough. But we're not gonna go into like the second and third round because like we'll end up having different matchups, so it'll just become messy. So we'll just fast forward to the finals and who we think will make the finals and ultimately win the finals. I've gone first pretty much every time, so I'll let Riley go first.
Okay, well I'll make it easy for myself.
Sorry to cut you off.
Oh,
Jared Allen is playing in the playing game today. Just I saw breaking news from Sham. So
all right. Scratch my pick. Cavs over Hawks.
yeah,
Money line hitting it.
It doesn't change the Miami series for me at all. Maybe it goes
Yeah,
6 instead of 5 because Allen is a big piece. But
what were we talking? Oh yeah, the
NBA finals.
Yeah. I think the Bucks come out of the East. I think they're just like Nickeem said, they're just so hungry, and I think Giannis personally, I think he's the best player in the league right now. I'm taking him over everybody to win a game. Out of the West, I think it's really tough. You know, I look at 3 teams. I look at the Warriors, look at the Grizzlies, and I look at the Suns. But I think we're gonna. I've said this pretty much all season. I think we're gonna see a Bucks Suns rematch. I just think that the Suns are coming in pissed off that they won last year. Paul's back from injury. Booker's been playing like an MVP this year. Mikal Bridges has been dominant on the defensive end, and Ayton has just been progressing slowly. So I really like Phoenix and I really like Milwaukee. I think we see a rematch.
Yeah, I gotta go with the rematch as well. Sorry to ruin the thing, but I gotta go a rematch as well. I think that the Suns are just so. I think they're the hungriest team in the NBA to add on to your point, and I don't know if we're gonna get into who we have winning the finals in general, so I'll leave that for after this. But yeah, I definitely gotta go with them. The Bucks in the East, I don't think anyone matches up to their level of play, especially if like I think maybe Boston if they had Rob Williams, but Brooklyn definitely not. And looking at Philly, no way. Miami is a little bit of an iffy one. I think that could be a chippy series, but overall the Bucks are just way better. They have the best player, and usually the team with the best player ends up winning. But the Suns, on the other hand, I would have said the Warriors if they never had that little slump they had, and if Curry was fully healthy. But the Suns have just been amazing. They can't seem to lose. I don't think they know what losing is anymore. So I'd say as well, rematch of last year.
Yeah, I have the Suns coming out of the West. I think they're just on another level than anybody else in the West. I mean, they were like 8 or 9 games above the next place team in the NBA. Yeah. They won like how many games did they win? Like 68, 67?
64.
64. Cool.
64 and 18 they went.
Yeah. So, and around midseason, Riley and I made finals picks, and I didn't pick Phoenix. I said maybe the Chris Paul injury would have affected their chances. It didn't. They didn't miss a step. They are a perfectly built basketball team, in my opinion. The role players, Mikal Bridges is in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. Cam Johnson off the bench, I love him. Jay Crowder as well. DeAndre Ayton hasn't taken the big step that I thought he would have after last year's playoffs, but he's still obviously a great big man. I think Booker is just going to carry them to the finals, and I think Chris Paul is the facilitator. I mean, they're perfectly built. In the East, I want to say Milwaukee. If I were to bet on it, I would say Milwaukee, but I have a feeling about Miami. I think because Miami won't see them until the Eastern Conference Finals, I think that gives Oladipo some more reps, gives them some more time to gel in the meantime. And I think because of what happened last year, did they get swept last year? Did they lose in 5?
I think they did get swept by.
Yeah, they got swept. Yeah. They got swept by Milwaukee. Yeah.
But then we saw what happened in the bubble. They beat them in the bubble. So this is gonna be the deciding series. I think Miami knows how to play Milwaukee. We were talking about great coaching. I think Spoelstra is a great coach as well. And he's gonna come up with something. So I'm gonna go with Miami. Go off the road a little bit. But if I were to put money on it, I would probably say rematch. But in that series, I would probably pick Suns. For me, I think the Suns would beat Miami, and then I think Devin Booker would win Finals MVP. I think they're just on another level.
Yeah. I think if the Bucks and Suns were to face off, I think Bucks go back to back. I think it goes 7. It'll be a great series. I think it'll be even better than last year. I think Booker plays a lot better than he did in last year's finals. He had a couple good games, but he also had a couple little slumpy performances. So I think he has a really good series, but ultimately, I like I said, I think Giannis is the best player in the world. I think he takes home Finals MVP for the second year in a row.
I gotta agree with Anuj, and I think the Suns redeemed themselves from last year. I think they made the necessary additions in the offseason for what they lacked last year, and now they're a much more improved team. And they just, I don't know, that hunger can't be matched. Like we said, the Bucks are hungry to repeat, but this team looks like they just have like not just one chip on their shoulder, but like 7 chips on their shoulder that they need to go and win this championship, not just to prove to the world, but to prove to themselves that they are as good as they believe they are. So I'd have to go Suns in the series, and I would say Devin Booker would win Finals MVP.
Yeah, I just think the only team that can stop the Suns is the Suns. Like, I don't know if I'm way too high on the Suns, but if they stay healthy, if Chris Paul doesn't get hurt, I think that they could just roll through everybody in the West at least.
Do you guys think that this is the Suns' best chance to win a chip that they have?
Yeah, I think so.
Like it's better than last year for sure, but
because DeAndre Ayton's going to want a contract this summer.
Mhm.
So with that, you're going to have to make some moves. You don't know how much longer Chris Paul is going to play. I've gotten to the point where I'm not going to like predict him falling off. I'm just going to see it happen and then go from there. But this is definitely their best shot, I think, because they're better than they were last year. And I'm not sure what their contract situations are, like who's up and who's not, but this seems like their best shot for sure.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get a chance like this. I think this is their window because if you look at the West, Kawhi is going to be back with LA next year. Then they get a full season with Kawhi, PG, and Norman Powell. That's going to be a tough team to stop. As much as the Lakers are bad, and I don't think they're going to win a championship, it's still hard to rule out an Anthony Davis and LeBron James team if they're fully healthy. And then looking at Grizzlies are going to make a jump. Warriors are just going to get better. Those guys are going to develop. So it's like, this is the year. If they don't win this championship, they're going to remember this as this is the time where their window of opportunity closed.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And you just listed a bunch of teams that are going to be even better. And the two ones that I immediately thought of, Nuggets are going to get Porter and Jamal back.
That was one that slipped my mind.
And as well as Dallas, I think Dallas makes a big move in the offseason for another piece. So the whole Western Conference is getting better, and we know how good the East is right now. So I absolutely agree that this is the Suns' window to win.
But I guess we'll move on to trivia. So I have Suns winning the title, so does Nickeem, and you have Riley, you have Bucks. So should be interesting. I think this playoff is going to be one of the better ones that we've seen in the last few years.
Sure.
Just
so many great potential matchups. We get Bucks, Nets in the second round again. Like there's so many matchups that can happen that
you could have potentially Miami and Toronto. Lowry coming back to Toronto in the second. That's going to be crazy too if it happens.
Bulls Miami.
And then really cool also if Miami goes up against Philly, Jimmy returning to Philly. Like, there's just so much good series that could potentially happen just in the East and also the West too.
Yeah. But moving on to trivia, I guess I'm sure you know how this works. We're gonna ask you 5 questions about yourself, about your interests, and we'll see how many you get right. The high score is still 4. Thomas, Pockernick, and Alyssa Morrison, they both got 4. So
all right.
See if you can get perfect.
Let's see if I know myself.
Yeah. All right, so first question. This is a Marvel question. It's finish the quote.
Oh gosh.
And just name who said it, and if you can name the movie, then I guess that's a bonus, but that's not part of the question. I know what it's like to lose, to feel so desperately that you're right, yet to fail none of the less. Finish the quote.
I'm gonna just ask a question for Riley. Do you know what this is?
I know who says it. I know the exact moment, but I could not tell you what comes after that.
You wanna repeat the quote?
I know what it's like to lose, to feel so desperately that you're right, yet to fail none of the less.
Oh, I think I know.
I know what it's like to lose. The way that's worded is like, I feel like a certain person would say that. Like, it's just worded very like smart in a bad way to say it. So like, I would. Okay, this is gonna make me seem so bad. The people are gonna be like, this guy does not know anything about Marvel. I don't know. I can't finish the quote, but I'm going to say it's Thanos. I don't know.
It was Thanos.
Okay. Oh, but what was the finish?
I am inevitable.
No, it's dread it, run from it, destiny arrives, all the same.
I would not have been able to finish that. It just sounded like here. Thanos though. The way he words his like sentences.
He's tough.
And now it's here. Or should I say I am? It's his first quote in Infinity War.
That's tough.
That's hard.
It's his first. It's his first little spiel when he's destroying the Asgard ship.
That's okay. At the beginning of the movie, then.
Yeah.
It's his very first quote.
That's like when he's like messing up Thor and Loki and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That was crazy.
Does that count as a point or not?
Half point. We'll give you half point. So you got,
Okay, I can still try to go for the high score then. Half point. Okay.
Oh yeah. All right. So with the second question, we know you're a big Spider-Man and a Batman fan.
Mhm.
So, what villains appeared 4 times each within their respective live-action universes?
So do I have to like combine them? I could just like say
Both.
like if I get
There's a Batman and a Spider-Man villain who both appeared 4 times.
that both appeared 4 times.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, Spider-Man. Let me think. Okay, so it's probably someone who was in No Way Home, because it had to be. 4 times. 4 times. Wait.
4 times? Are you sure? That's in a
Yeah.
Spider-Man movie? Really?
Yeah.
This doesn't mean like necessarily as like a villain, but they were just in the movie.
They appeared in the movie.
Okay. All right. Not like as like a flashback or anything, but like they were.
Their character and the actor who played them was in the movie at one point in time.
Oh, that's a little. Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's like
I know
different
the
actors as well, but
I know the Batman one, but the Spider-Man
character.
one, I don't know.
once you hear it, you're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, how did I?"
I'm gonna say. No, it can't be that one. I'm gonna. Okay, for Spider-Man, I'll say. Ooh.
I'm gonna actually preface this. I could be wrong. The Spider-Man one might be 3, but I think it's 4. Either way,
There's 2
go with your
options that I have for it. It's either the guy in Spider-Man 1 or Spider-Man 2. I'm just picking out which one it's gonna be. I'm gonna say the villain for Spider-Man is Green Goblin. I'm gonna say it's Green Goblin because I feel like maybe in Spider-Man 3, Harry probably had a moment where he talked to his dad. So I think that might have been in there for Batman.
Oh yeah, he did.
For Batman, I want to go with the. Oh gosh, I guess I'll go with the mainstream answer, which probably is going to be incorrect. But I guess I'll go. No.
Wait a minute.
I'm second guess. I don't know. I really don't know the Batman one, so I'm gonna just say Joker, even though I know that's not right.
I'm now rethinking this question, and it may have been completely wrong. You still got the answers right.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
Joker was Batman. I completely blew it because I'm thinking, okay, Jack Nicholson in Batman, in Batman.
Mhm.
No Batman, you get Barry Keoghan. Obviously, Heath Ledger.
yeah.
I was thinking Joaquin Phoenix, but that's not a Batman movie, so that's my bad. That's 3 Batman or Joker appearances in Batman movies, and then Green Goblin was the right answer because he was in Spider-Man 1, 2, and he was in 3 as like a ghost almost to talk to
Yeah.
and then obviously
Was he in Spider-Man 2?
I
You
think
sure?
so.
I think-
because I think there was a flashback where he's putting him on the bed,
Yeah.
the pod, whatever it was.
Okay.
So yeah, I absolutely blew that. That's my bad. You still nailed it. So
Hey,
Oh,
you got it.
I felt the pressure. Oh my god, I felt the pressure.
All right, third one. You're a huge Raptors fan, as you've
Oh, of course.
established.
Oh, I'm gonna get this right.
Who was the 4th leading scorer on the Raptors championship team in the playoffs?
What
in
type of
points
stupid
per game?
question? What
It's
type
the third question. It's the third question. The third question is always the hardest question. There's 2 answers. There was a tie.
There's 2 answers.
Are
Do
they
you have to
tied
say,
for
do I have to
There's a
guess? I
tie.
just have to guess the player. I just have to guess the player.
Just the player. You don't have to average.
Okay.
You have to say how
All
much
right.
they
If I
average.
say I have to get the points. Okay. Obviously, number 1's Kawhi. I'm gonna say number 2 Siakam, or 3 Lowry. So 4th,
Yeah, those are the
there's-
top 3.
yeah, 4th is where it gets a little tricky. You said it's a tie.
There's a tie. Yeah.
I'm going to say Serge Ibaka.
I was
He
gonna
was
say
one of
Serge. Yeah, Serge and
He was
Fred,
one of them.
right?
It was Serge
was-
Ibaka and Marc Gasol.
Oh, I wasn't gonna go Fred because I know Fred struggled.
Yeah,
So
I
I,
guess
didn't know.
Fred.
It was either Serge or Norm to me, but Gasol. Okay.
Van
Okay.
Vliet averaged 8 points. per game in the
Really?
playoffs. Yeah.
That low.
Maybe it's a
I was-
sixth man, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. You think from the finals, he would have at least
he
had
had a
like
great
around
finals.
13 or something. But he had a bad
Yeah.
series against Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And even Philly, he was kind of non-existent in that Philly series.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Got that one. So you got 2.5 now out of
Yeah,
3.
2.5,
So you
yeah.
still have a chance to.
On pace to
Set
break
the record. Okay.
Number 4. This is an anime-related question.
I'm getting this. No
If you
doubt
haven't
about it.
seen it, I'm gonna feel really bad. But I know Liam loves it, so it would make sense if
If
you.
Liam loves it, then I think I've seen it.
Okay. Now I'm going to explain the plot incredibly badly within a sentence, and you're going to guess.
Okay, let's hear it.
Rubber band tries to find a bathing suit. I don't know what that means. I looked it up online, but I know
it's
you know?
One
Yeah.
Piece. It's One Piece. It's
Nailed
One Piece. For those that, but like I could explain it. The main character, his name is Luffy, and there's like these different fruits that you eat that give you powers. So like the fruit that he ate makes his body like elastic, so his arms and his limbs can stretch. And the treasure that there's like a treasure that all the pirates look for, and it's called the One Piece. So I guess by the bathing suit is like a One Piece bathing suit.
Oh, I like that. That's
Yeah.
slick. Okay.
One
know
thing about
nothing
One
about
Piece
anime.
though, if anyone wants to watch it, that it has like over 1,000 episodes and it's still going on. Like, I don't know how Liam's doing it. I was watching it and I stopped for a while, like for a month, and I haven't got back to it. It's so much, like, and it's still going. So like, if I just can't. It's such a commitment, and I have commitment issues. I can't.
Anime's got to be the hardest form of entertainment to tap into, just because it's kind of daunting when you first look at it. Like the amount of like Naruto,
Yep.
absurd amount of episodes. It's like I want to watch it, but it's like I don't know if I could push through that much.
It's so much. Like when I got into Naruto, I was just like, God, will I be able to watch like 700 episodes? And then for that one, once I started, I just binged. I binged so much that now I'm addicted. I'm addicted. But let's go. That anime one was a gimme. That was a layup. All
right, final question. You're a huge Kendrick Lamar fan. We've talked about him a little bit. We even had a whole class on it where we talked about it. To Pimp a Butterfly.
Best album ever.
Yeah.
All time.
Okay.
I don't care what you say. Best album all time.
I like Good Kid more, but I can't disagree.
What would you say is the best album of all time in your opinion before we get into this question? Like
For me,
regardless of Kendrick or something or anyone.
For me, it's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
That is my number 2, so I'm not upset with that at all. Yeah. Riley, what would you say?
Mine was probably My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, or I'm blanking on the name right now, but it's got Fergus. No, it's Lauryn Hill and
I can't think of the name, but I know what you're talking about.
What's it? Let me find it. Oh, The Score. Is it called The Score? Yeah, I don't even know the name, but every song on that album is fire. So
yeah, I can't be upset. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, great answer. If you guys said maybe something else, I would have been like, but no. Taste.
Certified okay, Lover Boy. No.
Astro.
How much? The final question is, how many copies did To Pimp a Butterfly sell first week? And I'll give you like a 20,000 range. It's high.
You're gonna have to earn this record.
If you get 20,000 higher or lower, we'll give it to you.
Okay. All right. To Pimp a Butterfly. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm not gonna say
third question.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, this should have been third. If you said third was the hardest, I don't think it's anywhere near like. Obviously, it's nowhere near where Scorpion did, because Scorpion set the record, and I think that did like 300K or something around the lines like that, or close to that range or something.
Scorpion was like near 1 million.
First week? Like sales or streams? No, obviously not streams, but sales 1 million in first week?
Yep. I think that and views have gone over.
Yeah, views was nuts in 20.
Oh yeah, views was nuts. Damn. Okay, that kind of ruins my whole type of thing. Okay, streaming wasn't so big back then because it was 2015. So obviously streaming, but I think a lot of CDs were sold. Ooh, this is one where my pride is on the line because I carry myself as a Kendrick stan. You said I have a 20,000 like range.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say. All right, I'm gonna go. Ah, shit. I'm gonna go 260. 260,000.
I think
it was 300. It was 324,000.
Oh, so close.
But you know what? We'll give you a half point. You can tie it. We'll give you a half point.
That doesn't. I don't want to tie. I want to win. Oh my god! I was close to going 300K. I was going through close to 300K. Either way, oh my gosh, the Kendrick one is the one that got me. I was literally coming on here and I'm like, I know they're gonna ask me a Kendrick one. I got this. They're gonna, especially if it's To Pimp a Butterfly. I got this. Hit me with the tickets, the sales, bro.
Yeah, you probably thought it was gonna be like a finish the lyric or something.
Yeah.
I thought it was at least gonna be something about like, oh, how how many tracks are on this album without searching it up, and I'll be like, oh yeah, this much tracks are on it, or this was on it, or whatever. Man, okay.
We get everybody with one question. It's always one question that they don't get.
Good stuff. Good trivia.
Yeah, GG's.
Yeah. But
are we giving him a half point there or no?
Do you want the half point? You said you didn't want to tie.
Sure, we'll give it to you. I'll be in the top 3, I guess.
Yeah,
so we get 4.
So we could 4. So we could say your name every time we do trivia.
True.
Amazing. Next time I come back, I'm taking that top spot. I don't care who's gonna be there. I'm kidding.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
No, I've literally practiced. Like I'm going to train for this moment. It'll be my Rocky moment.
That should be fun. We'll definitely have you on at some point, either in the summer or
for sure
when we go back to school. So maybe around like the time that NBA season starts next season.
Yes, sir.
We'll have you on and we'll get this going again. But with all that being said, probably gonna wrap up here. Thank you so much, Nickeem, for coming on. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us today. Giving you great insight on the NBA. So thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate having me on the podcast, talking hoops, all this other stuff. And everyone, whoever's watching this, make sure if you're not subscribed to the channel, what the hell are you doing? Hit that subscribe button, like the video, keep up, on the wild. Like people don't understand, like this is not just a podcast, it's like a culture, like come on, like what are you doing at this point? Like you're still listening to me talking, you're not subscribed. Anyways.
I don't even need to do an outro now. We'll see you guys next week. Take it easy. Peace.